Hi, I'm Dana and this is Otis, and I don't know why I'm so cheerful. I'm in a good mood, okay? I'm not killing it for a video, but we are today going to talk about some of the ways that my parents neglected me that went very, very unnoticed, to the point where it's only as I've gotten older and looked back that I've been like, that wasn't my fault. I was a child and my parents should have helped me. And it's been a very useful part of my healing journey to be able to recognize things like that and see what it was. But it's sometimes very difficult to unpack them all and to actually see each individual thing and to just figure things out and feel like I understood what the fuck was going on, essentially. I feel like I'm far enough from the intro that wasn't within the first 30 seconds, but it's just another one of those things where I feel like now that I've put the effort in and done the work, I may as well make the content so that other people don't have to put quite so much fucking effort in, because it's not the easiest and it's not the nicest, and I hope it can be helpful to someone. So we're gonna get straight into it, because this video topic idea came to me when I was doing my hair dyeing video thing the other day, because I was like, when are people meant to learn this? When do people learn how to do their own hair and how to just manage it and handle it? And it made me think back to a point when my family had gone on holiday. I'm fairly sure it's when we went camping in Whitby, because my dad wanted to find the pub from Heartbeat and we never did. But we'd gone camping and there was this one morning that mum was like, why isn't your hair brushed? And I was like, it is brushed, I've brushed my hair. And she was like, no, I just watched you didn't brush your hair properly, do it properly now. And I was like, I brushed my hair. And she was like, no, you didn't. You need to separate it down the back, pull it to either side, because I had, all of my hair was this sort of length at the time. I had very long hair, and she was like, pull it to the side. So I started trying to, and there was this gigantic mat of hair at the back of my neck, because I'd just been ragging the brush through my hair. Because what had happened there was, for my entire life, my mum did my hair in the morning, and it was an absolute fucking a whole situation every single morning before school. And it was like that for every single action of getting ready, but especially doing my hair, because I had extremely long hair, and it is not that you can tell too well right now, but it does have a level of curl to it that means if you don't put any curl cream or leave-in conditioner or any curly hair products into it, it's just frizzy and knotty. And I didn't know that was a thing until I was 21. So I just went through my childhood with extremely knotty, frizzy hair, and every morning I would get up and my mum would just rag a brush through it, paddle brush, roots to tips, just rag it through until it went through smoothly. And then, because I could not deal with having my hair touching me or surrounding me in any way, it was scraped back into a high pony. And my mum hated doing it. She'd tell me all the time that it didn't look good and that I didn't look nice and that made my face look fat and it made my face look round. And I was like, I don't care, I can't deal with my hair touching me, so that's what we're going to do. And then there came a point when I started year 3, so I would have been 7 or 8 years old, and my mum sat me down the morning before school and she was like, I'm not doing your hair anymore, it's horrible doing it, you're a crybaby, you're a little bitch while I'm doing it, essentially. I can't be bothered doing it anymore. You're old enough to do it yourself. Here's your hairbrush, here's a bobble, do it yourself. So from that morning forward, I would rag the brush through my hair, root to tip, like my mother did to me. I would sometimes attempt to put it up, and I very quickly learned that I couldn't do it properly myself. So I started just having it down, I'd rag the brush through it, that was that. If I really needed it out of the way, I'd do a low pony, so the gigantic mat that was forming at the back of my neck didn't affect it, because I was vaguely aware that it was happening, but I was also a small child, and as far as I knew, I was brushing my hair. So all of a sudden my mother had given me this different instruction months later to separate my hair and to brush it through like that, and I couldn't do it because of this giant mat on the back of my neck. So that became a whole thing of me ruining the holiday. We couldn't go out that day because of me. My dad was sat behind me for most of the morning trying to comb it out and brush it out, because my mum was saying she was just going to cut it out and shave my head. Anytime I used to very regularly get nits as well as a child, because I had really long hair, and every single time I got them it was my fault. It was me being a dirty little bitch and getting nits, and my mum would just threaten me and verbally berate me. And that was what she did about my hair being matted as well, even though she'd never taught me how to do a single fucking thing to it. I was just handed this hairbrush and told it's your go now, off you pop. And if she'd just at that point months earlier been like, okay, you need to separate your hair, brush either side, make sure there's no knots in it and you're good to go, I'd have been fucking alright. I just needed to be told because I was a child, and I just given no information, not told anything, not informed of anything, didn't have a clue, and then verbally berated and shamed for not knowing how to do it. And not only like verbally berated and shamed, but in front of my brothers, in front of my dad. Just, I was made to feel like I was ruining everyone's holiday by just being dirty and stupid, when like I'd not been told a single fucking thing, you know? And it was while thinking about that holiday and that situation that I remembered the degree to which I also just did not have weather appropriate clothing. Because we'd gone during like the first half term after you start back. So I want to, like, not Christmas half term. So it was like February, March time. It's cold in Whitby. Like, that's the main thing I remember about that holiday, is that it was just bitingly, like to the core, freezing cold. And we were camping and all I had was this like beige wool cloak thing. Like, but to be fair, it was sick, it was really cool, it was like a cloak, but like it was a thin weave, like it wasn't a big like cloak that was keeping me warm, like it was like a blanket, you know, it was just like a little blanket with a little fur ruff thing around the neck, and that was the warmest thing that I had. And every time I complained that I was cold, my mum would be like, well, you should have bought something else with you then. But I remember like being like, okay, I'm gonna have to take like my vest to make sure my body is warm, I'm going to have to take like a layer to keep on top of that, and then the layer that's going to like actually keep me warm with a jumper, and then my cloak is the winter thing that I have. I don't have a waterproof coat, I don't have a winter coat, I have this cloak thing that I've gotten at some point from a charity shop, and that is my outerwear, that is all I have as outerwear. And that was very, very common for me as a child, because I would get a winter coat for the coming winter, and then 3 winters later I'd be like, I don't have a coat, that coat doesn't fit me, like it doesn't fit me, it's fallen apart, you know, whatever's gone on, I no longer have a coat, hello parents, I need a coat, I'm cold. And I would just be told, well, you should have looked after that one then, shouldn't you? You shouldn't have put on so much weight that doesn't fit you. And that's also a weird one looking back, because every time I outgrew anything, for my entire life, I was told that it was because I was getting fat, I was gaining weight, I should be more careful with what I eat, I should exercise more. And like, I was 8 years old. You're supposed to grow as a child. And I will give that I do understand from like context that I have with my mother's childhood that like diet culture and people wanting their kid to be fucking skinny and trying to live through their daughter, like I understand where it came from for my mother, but it's still absolutely insane to me that anytime I grew as a child I was fat shamed and made to feel really awful about my weight and what I was eating, and like that's the thing as well, as I was constantly told that I obviously needed to exercise more. And it's one of those things where I spent a lot of time outdoors as a child. I didn't really want to be at home. I was like constantly out in the garden pretending to be having sword fights and going on swings, and like I had like a range of exercise related things that I enjoyed doing that I didn't see as exercise, and nor did my parents. So they were constantly like, you don't move, when the reality is that I did. But getting back to the actual topic we're talking about, that was just a continued thing throughout my life. Like I remember showing up to high school at one point, probably when I was in like year 10 or 11, like towards the end of high school, and being soaked through. Like I had to go to the reception and be like, I don't know what to do right now because I am literally dripping and I feel bad like going into form when like I'm going to be like a swamp monster and everything I touch is going to be soaked. Like I can't touch a book right now, it's going to be fucked, I don't know what to do. And they had to like take me through and give me some clothes to wear while they tried to get them dry. And while the teachers came through, I was like, why didn't you wear a coat? And I was like, I haven't got one. And she was like, what? And I was like, I don't have a coat. Like the only outerwear thing that I have in my entire wardrobe, like that belongs to me, is my school blazer, and that doesn't keep me dry, I don't have a coat. And she was just like, oh, all right then, let's get you dry. Like, what are you gonna do? But I had that just regularly. Like I remember like so many times my friends being like, are you not gonna wear a coat? And just being like, I got one. And I was also like so much bigger than other people that they couldn't really lend me one either. I think some people would have if they could have, you know? But I quite often just did not have an outerwear coat throughout the winters that we had. My parents also had the thing of I would be bought new school shoes at the start of the school year. We would go to Windsor's World of Shoes and they had to be £20 or less. When we moved to Rill and we couldn't go to Windsor's World of Shoes anymore, we had to go to Shoe Zone and they again had to be under £20. So they were extremely low quality shoes. Within 2 or 3 months, I would be like, the soles would be gone, things would be falling apart, I would be straight up just walking on the floor, they wouldn't be waterproof anymore, like they would be absolutely fucked. And if I went to my parents and was like, these shoes are fucked, I need new school shoes, we got you new school shoes at the end of the year. Why aren't you taking care of them? Why aren't you looking after them? It's on you to make sure that they're all right. You're just going to have to live with what you've got now, aren't you, until the end of the year, and we'll get you new school shoes at the start of next year. You need to look after what you've got. And I was constantly told that as a child. And it's definitely one of the things that's contributed to the fact that, like, I will mend things, I will look after things, I will care for things. Like, all of my electronics are currently 5 years old and they're starting to go. And I feel like it's my fault. I'm like, oh God, I haven't looked after them well enough. And not like it's the reality of that's just how things go. And I've also had a lot of times that it's only once I have like a new friend or a new person in my life and they're like, why are you using this thing? You could just get a new one. I'm like, shit, yeah, I can just get a new one. I don't have to just make do anymore. But I was constantly told that as a kid, like, as I would outgrow things, as things would just be worn down and I used them and they wore or they broke, I was made to feel as though things are supposed to last indefinitely. Things should last forever if you just take care of them well enough. And if anything breaks or gets damaged or gets worn, it's just that I'm not taking care of it and I no longer deserve to get to have that thing, even if it's a winter coat or school shoes. And along a sort of similar vein to that, I know you've heard it more than once at this point, my current bed is really fucking uncomfortable because I got that mattress when I moved out when I was 16 and now I'm 28 and I keep turning it and flipping it and changing the like orientation that it's at. It's fucked, it's really old, it's really worn, I need a new mattress. But it's one of the things that like has been like a wake up thing for me because I've just never had a comfortable bed. Like, it's not that weird or uncomfortable to me because I'm very fucking used to it because there's not been a point. There's been 2 points in my life that I had a comfortable bed for less than 6 months each time, and it makes a world of fucking difference to the way that my body feels. But most of my life I've not been provided with a comfortable place to sleep. For the vast majority of like my young childhood, I was just given whatever mattress my brother was finished with. Whichever of my brothers, they'd finish with a mattress, it'd be fucked, they'd break their bed or whatever, they'd get a new bed with a new mattress and I'd get the old mattress. They were never particularly good, they were never particularly nice, they were always a bit fucked already. When we moved to Denmark, my dad bought me a futon because he wanted me to be able to have friends over, which never happened. And he was like, it'll be like you have your own living room if you have this like futon instead of a bed. Most uncomfortable thing I've ever slept on in my life, even though I was like 11 years old. I felt like my body was falling apart at that point. It was absolutely like the worst thing in the world. And then when we moved, my aunt was getting rid of her bed and it was the fanciest fucking bed. My aunt was like posh. I mean, she still is posh and fancy. And it was, apologies if it looks different, I ran out of memory, I had to reset up. But as I was saying, I got this really fucking fabulous bed off like as a second-hand thing off my aunt, but it was, see, most things that I've gotten, it's when they're not really fit for use anymore and someone wants a new one, whereas that was just when she was like, I want a new bed, you know, like it was just that random. So it was still actually in really good condition, it was super comfy and I fucking loved it. And then we moved back to the UK and couldn't take the bed with me, so I had that for like 2 or 3 months. One of my nicest memories of living in Denmark was laying in that bed and watching Reliconto mornings on like Saturday and Sunday morning. I loved Reliconto, I loved Tia Carrera. But yeah, and then moving back to the UK, we lived in a bedsit for a while, so I was just, no we didn't, we lived in a B&B. I don't know why I keep saying bedsit instead of B&B, but like, it was an old one that had not been done up in a very long time, so again, not comfortable beds, charity shop beds, whatever the fuck my parents could get for cheap. I had a bed at one point where the slats just constantly fell out and my parents were constantly telling me like, oh, it's because you're fat, you need to lose weight, it's because you're too heavy. But it was one of those things where like, I had some very fucking tiny friends and they would come over and sit down and the slats would fall through and I was like, I don't think this is my fault, guys. But I was not listened to whatsoever, so I would quite often wake up literally in the shape of like a C across the back because the main middle metal slat was metal, so that didn't fall through, so just bottom and end would go and I'd just be like, oh shit, this is very uncomfortable. And it's one of those things that I just hadn't thought about that in depth, and I'm not saying like this is the worst way to neglect a child whatsoever, obviously, like thanks for feeding me even though you shamed me for everything I fucking ate, but it's just one of those things where like, I think the children deserve a comfortable place to sleep. I think everyone deserves a comfortable and safe place to sleep, but children especially, like your body's growing and you're going through all this stuff and like, I honestly feel like maybe some of my issues are caused by the fact that I never had a fucking comfortable place to sleep and slept in some extremely strange positions. Like there was a point when I had my fucked up bed where the slats kept falling through that I pulled like a foam mattress thing over into this like little alcove in my room and just fully slept like curled up like a fucking bird. That definitely wasn't good for my like developing teenage body. So it's one of those things where I'm like, no, it's not like the worst thing a parent can do to you, but it's definitely not the way that a parent should be treating their kid. And like, I think a kid deserves a comfortable place to sleep. And my final one is one that honestly does make me quite angry, because they never followed up on any medical care. They would reach out in the first instance when I brought up an issue to them, like, or when they finally noticed an issue a lot of the time as well. Like, I threw up every single morning before school for most of the time that I was in school. And there was a point in like year 4 or 5, where my parents finally took me to the doctors and were like, she throws up like every morning. I had a blood test done, I had an ultrasound that was very uncomfortable and awkward and weird, and they told my parents that I was fine, so they went, you're fine, stop doing that. You know, I would tell my parents, like, no, I'm not doing PE, I'm not doing this physical thing, I'm not doing this because my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, my body hurts, like my back aches, like my body hurts. That's why I'm not doing this physical thing I was told to do in school or elsewhere. And they'd take me to the doctor, and the doctor would go, oh, it's because she's fat, or oh, it's growing pains, and that was that. You know, I still have what I believe to be psoriasis at this point. But again, I would have these like large patches of red, scaly, sometimes bleeding, extremely like itchy patches on my scalp. And it started out all like along the front here, so it was extremely visible. I got really picked on for it. My parents took me to the doctor. We got some sort of cream. It didn't work. It didn't work. Oh well, too bad. You know? And then like 2-3 years later, I'd have like a flare up of a really bad patch again, and my parents would notice and would go to the doctor, and I'd get given a shampoo and they'd give it a go, and it didn't work, and oh well, didn't work. And we also, every doctor that we went to told us it was something else. I've been told it's a fungus, I've been told it's an infection, I've been told it's product buildup. If you can think of something that you could say it is, I've been told that's what it is. I've done my own research since and spoken to people that know about things, and I'm fairly sure it is, I don't want to say just psoriasis because it does fucking bother me, but like, I'm fairly sure that's what it is. You're supposed to like with a lot of medical things, you go, they give you something to try, it doesn't work, you go back. But my parents just never took me back. They were just like, oh well, didn't work, you're just gonna have to stop doing that, stop being in pain, stop having that, just don't do it. The doctor said you're fine, you're faking it. Like, ugh. And it went for bigger things as well. Like I told you about my leg in a different video. I fell on like a tree stump and it cut my leg open in a really horrible way. I'm not going to go into full detail this time, don't worry. But they sewed it back up, and it was like extremely high risk of infection, all kind of stuff like that. So they had to take me back to follow-up appointments at my local GP for a while, because there was a big bandage and they were putting iodine on it. It was a whole thing and it looked disgusting. So for a while they were taking me back. And then as it started to heal more, I was being told as like the patient, even though I was a child, we're going to be able to get you plastic surgery, and we're going to be able to do this to it, and we're going to be able to do this. Because there's a chunk missing and it looked disgusting. So I was being told all this follow-up stuff that was going to happen to make it look like a normal fucking leg again. And then we moved to Denmark, and I remember there was a morning that I was rubbing my bio oil on it because that's what my parents had gotten me. And I was like, so when are they going to like do what they were going to do to it to make it look normal? And he was like, that was going to happen in the UK. And I was like, okay, but like, it hasn't gone away because we're not in the UK, so what are we going to do? And he was just like, no, that's over now. That's what the English doctors were going to do. We're not doing it here. So I just never got that. And I'm so certain that there's probably a lot more things that just were brought up to doctors that my parents mentioned, that other people mentioned, that just never got any sort of follow-up, you know? Like, I know that my parents were told multiple times by various different people that I seemed like I was probably autistic as a child, and they were just like, nah, no she's not. And it's all stuff where I'm just like, if you'd followed, like, you medically neglected me, you neglected my medical care. There was also the point when I fell off a rope swing and hit my tailbone on the floor, like my coccyx bone or whatever it's called, and I physically couldn't move my legs or lift my feet up properly or walk properly for like 6 weeks. I was living on my living room couch, literally, and every now and again my mum would come in and be like, you need to get up and move around, and I'd get up and I'd move around, and it slowly got better to the point where like I could walk again. But I literally could not physically walk. Like my friends, I couldn't walk unsupported. Like I had friends on either arm and I could just about like shuffle foot in front of other foot. You know, like I couldn't lift my feet up to walk. And my parents just put me on the couch and were like, oh, you'll get over it. Like I genuinely feel like I probably have like issues with I honestly think I probably broke my fucking tailbone, and they were just like, you'll get over it. you know? And it's stuff like that that I've brought up to doctors now, and they're just like, oh, you've survived, haven't you? You've come this far. They don't investigate or do anything about it. And I'm like, no, but I'm here telling you that I'm in pain every single day, and I don't know what it is, and I'm giving you all these suggestions of what I think it is, and you're just going, could be her. Do something. And it's the kind of thing that I think if I'd had my parents advocating for me as a child, I probably would have had a lot of things figured out and put on record and diagnosed, and like I'd know what was happening with things, but they didn't, so I don't, and it's really fucking hard to get it sorted now as an adult. But yeah, that's the end. That's all stuff that like I definitely consider to be neglect. If I saw someone being like that with a child, I would be like, yo, you need to do better, like that's not okay. Don't know what anyone else thinks, that's where I stand on it. I really hope this type of content is useful to people, because otherwise I do feel like I'm just trauma dumping on the internet. If other people can take something from it and not have to do all of the work of unpacking and figuring things out and like validating themselves, like if you can get a little bit of validation from it and just feel a bit better, that's the goal here. That's what I'm aiming for. So as always, if you want to like and subscribe, I post content like this alongside autism content and also just occasional little like fun things sometimes. So if you want to like and subscribe for that, that'd be really cool. You can also find me over on TikTok or Instagram, and you can also find me on Ko-fi or Patreon if you would like to do so. There's no pressure, you don't have to, but it does help me out a lot. And if you join me on Patreon, you also get easier access to the Discord. But as always, I don't want things to be paywalled. I think that's really shitty. I wouldn't be able to afford to be there if it was paywalled. So you can also email me, message me where you can find me, and I will send you a link. If you are an adult, over 18s only, please. I don't like children, and I don't think my content's appropriate for you, and I don't want to be friends with you. So that's that. Whoever you are, wherever you are, if you have a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.